everyone. Welcome back. You have found us on the Fuck Calories podcast. And today we're actually going to be talking about calories. So, a lot of patients, when they seek out our advice, start bringing up the subject of calories. And that's really interesting because sometimes it's like, Doc, I've tried everything. I followed the calories that my nutritionist gave me, and my personal trainer told me I should be working out this amount to burn this amount of calories, and nothing is working. The Another set of patients might come to us and say, tell me a little bit more about what kind of calorie count I should be looking at, and how many calories should I be burning, and why do calories even matter, and what am I even doing, and what even is a calorie? And I say, that is a great question. So finding out what a calorie is might actually be the start of this whole new series of episodes, and where we talk about what is a calorie, why does it even matter, why do I care how many calories I eat or burn, and why do these calories that seem to matter a lot in our society and culture, why are they not the answer to a lot of my weight problems that I seem to have? When everyone tells me, listen, if you just burn more calories than you take in, it's a simple math equation and you're just not doing it right. Right? Have you been told that before? I definitely have. So
I have been
let's start with
gaslit for
that.
like 20 years, maybe
Yes.
almost 30 years now.
Absolutely. So let's start at the beginning. Tell us, Dr. Sarah, what is a calorie? We're going to start our calorie series off at a 101. We're going to start really basic.
Yeah, absolutely. So at its most basic, a calorie is a amount of energy that can raise 1 milliliter of water 1 degree Celsius. Now, that's a bunch of a bunch of weird metrics. Why in the
Yeah.
world are we like basing our nutrition on that very bizarre formula? And the reason for that is historical. So calories, the word calorie and the unit of measurement actually started back in the Industrial Revolution during the 1700s. So at that time, you have to kind of like remember. I mean, obviously, none of us were around back then, but kind of imagine and remember where they were. So this is the Industrial Revolution. Combustion engine is getting started. People are moving from agricultural societies to indoors and taking using machines to help them build societies and to be more productive. So that is kind of like the environment that this calorie was like born into.
Mhm.
And at the time, they were trying to, I don't even know what they used in combustion engines, like coal or something.
Yeah, that sounds great.
Exactly. They were trying to calculate, okay, if I have this machine versus this other machine, if I put a certain amount of coal into it, how much work is it going to produce? And this was a common theme that they were doing with different mechanics and different agriculture and different industries at the time to be able to not only to create new machines but also to perfect and optimize the ones that they had. So it is in this zeitgeist, in this like kind of ideology, that the calorie was born. And you can imagine that they took what we now know is a hugely complex organism that can do many, many different things and has many micro processes that are going on under the surface. They kind of equated us to like a combustion engine. And if I can quantify the amount of coal that I will put into this human, how much work will they produce on the other end?
Mhm.
This was also the same time, this is 17 1800s, that the first law of thermodynamics, which of course it wasn't called that at the time, but at the time it was the law of the conservation of energy in 1842. So basically they discovered that any energy that goes into a machine is the same amount of energy that goes out of a machine, including heat. And so they applied that to us as well, which you can imagine was the beginning of the calories in, calories out. And so the other things that we knew, that we one day learned, things about ATP, about mitochondria, about cellular respiration. People will remember from their high school biology class, the mitochondria is the powerhouse of the cell. That wasn't learned until the 1900s, 1929, 1950s, 1960s. And so we didn't know any of that. We were just treating humans like they were machines. And you can imagine this was, also a time of like there were wars going on in Europe, and in other parts of the world. And for practical considerations, it became part of like nutrition because they were also trying to quantify nutrition standards. There
Mhm.
were prices for food rising as people moved from agricultural societies into like societies indoors, that they were, I will produce food for you for this, and then you produce for this. And society was being built on um like specialization. And so food prices were rising. They needed to be able to feed soldiers and inmates and people in hospitals, in mental institutions. They needed to be able to quantify and optimally feed all of these populations as well as like society at large. And so there became this like, can we mathematically optimize how we're going to feed people? And so they took this archaic idea, which of course it wasn't archaic at the time, it was modern. This idea of like energy going into a combustion engine, can we apply that to human nutrition? And
Mhm.
that was great for the 1800s. That, it was revolutionary. That's
Yeah.
wonderful. But like, it is fucking 2024. I am not a combustion engine. And so I'm really excited about this series that we're about to put out. We're going to go through some of the limitations of having this notion that calories in, calories out is the end of the day and that rules the roost. And yes, you can mathematically compute that all of the energy that goes into your body versus all the energy that goes out of your body. But we're going to talk about why that mathematical equation breaks down, in that you can't tell your body how it's going to use the mechanisms that it's going to do, and you can't tell your body to change its composition just based on your calorie input alone. And we're going to go into this in much more detail. I'm really excited to go through this series of episodes, but so where we're coming from, that is why the calorie is what it is, and how it's a unit of heat measurement, and why it became that, because it was based on what they were calculating at the time for engines at the time. So
Right.
anyway, I'm excited to continue on this journey, and from initial food for thought for the audience. So
Yes, absolutely. I love that. Ooh, food for thought. And
literally.
as a name for this series, maybe. So I love it. And I'm just going to go back to the beginning where you talked about the amount of energy needed to increase 1 milliliter, right, of water 1 degree Celsius, and why we are still using that. And so if you imagine, you're like, what does 1 calorie mean? It's basically, if I take one Cheeto, right, and I burn it for its energy, can that amount increase this little bit of water 1 degree Celsius, or does it do it by 7 degrees Celsius, which is 7 calories, or does it, right? And all of that kind of thing. So that is truly what it means to be a calorie, and what it means going forward when we start talking about calories, and in this kind of abstract thoughts that we have about calories. It's a unit of measurement. So excellent. So we're going to stop there for today, and we're going to continue on our series and our food for thought, and we'll go and continue diving deeper into calories and why it might not be as important to us as it used to be. So we'll
Fuck
see you later.
calories.